Everybody who starts in the online business space sets their first milestone, that first huge goal at the 10K a month mark. That is the point most people think they will be able to do whatever they want, leave their current job, leave school and go all in and make this their full-time thing, and then eventually scale it beyond that point. But now that you know 10K a month is the first goal, and I'm sure that you either have hit that or you're on this video because you want to figure out the best, most efficient way to hit that. So now that you know that that's your goal, now you just need to decide what is the best path, the best vehicle for you to follow to reach that. Because no matter what your point is 10K a month. There's multiple different ways you can hit it, some being faster, some being more efficient, and some taking less time than others. So to help you get there as quick and as efficiently as possible, so you're wasting as little time to get to that 10K a month mark and reach your goals, we're going to break down the 5 most popular business models that I've been seeing in the online space right now, being SMMA, OFM, white label AI agency, e-commerce, and growth operating. These are all low upfront capital business models to start and things that I've been seeing trending all over the internet. So I'm going to break these down and really show you what I think is going to be the best route for you to go to hit your goals the quickest. And so there's a couple things that we're going to be going over in this video. Like I said, these are the business models that we're going to be looking at: SMMA, OFM, white label AI agency, e-commerce, and growth operating. And the categories we're going to be comparing them in are startup cost and investment, scalability and growth potential, market demand and trends, skill set and learning curve, profit margins and revenue streams, and the potential to hit 10K a month. So we're going to be going over all of this in depth right here. So let's zoom in a little bit. And first thing we're going to look at is the startup cost. And this is, for a lot of people, this is the first barrier to entry, right? If you're in a spot where you don't have any money to invest or very little money to invest, that's immediately going to knock off some options for you, right? Things that take up front capital are just not in the works for you. There's not an option. So you usually want to starting with something that is very low upfront and very, very minimal cost to start, and you can just get rolling with as soon as possible. And so the startup cost and investment, you're going to see things here. The ones that are in dark green are, in my opinion, the ones that are the best in that category. Light green is second best. Then there's going to be yellow, orange, and red in, of course, descending order of what I think is the best. So let's get into this here. Startup cost and investment. First is SMMA. This is the classic social media marketing agency, right? And so a lot of you are probably already familiar with this. This was huge. Iman Gadzhi popularized this in a ton, and everybody's first business model was SMMA. But now it's become very saturated, in my opinion, and I'm going to cover everything about that in this video. And so the first section is low startup cost. SMMA has a very, very low startup cost. As I'm sure you already know, it costs almost nothing to get started, with minimal investment in digital tools, training, and initial marketing, often scalable without outsourcing. You can usually get your first couple clients and get to a good spot with very little startup costs, and you don't need ads to start. You can do cold outreach. Everything can be done pretty much manually, and you maybe spend less than $100 on softwares and stuff, but outside of that, you have very little cost and you can get clients without having to spend much money. Now, OFM, which for those of you that don't know is OnlyFans management. Me personally, I've never run an OnlyFans agency. It's not really my thing, but I do see it everywhere online. So I did want to include this because it is a super popular business model that a lot of people are looking to get in now. And so the costs with OnlyFans management, it's moderate costs. It's more upfront costs than SMMA, but it is still not a ridiculous amount of upfront costs. It just depends on where you're at, because a lot of people starting out, they don't have money to invest. So this might put this off the table for you immediately. Investment is primarily in digital marketing tools, content creation, photography, video, and client management platforms, with most operations handled remotely. And so you are going to have to invest in some content creation things, because all marketing for OFM is done through content creation primarily, right? And marketing tools and all that sort of stuff. So that will cost a little bit more than the SMMA. Now, number 3 is the white label AI agency. So what a white label AI agency is where you are white labeling another AI software that is already built. You don't need to code it up. You don't need to do anything. You're white labeling it. So putting your logo, your domain on it to make it your own, and you're selling it to businesses. And so, as you can imagine, because you're not building anything, is extremely, extremely low startup costs, less than SMMA, because you're leveraging pre-built white label AI tools, which means no need for in-house research and development, no complex technological investments, and mainly subscription fees and minimal setup. Similar to SMMA, you might just have to pay for the software you're looking to white label and then white label it, and that's it. So very, very, very minimal, and you can sell it for a lot. So It's a very good way to go. Costs little to nothing. You don't need to be technical. You don't have to be able to code, which makes the barrier to entry for this very, very low, and why it's a dark green, extremely low startup cost here. Now, number 4 is e-commerce. And so for e-commerce, I left it a bit vague as e-commerce, right? I didn't do specifically drop shipping or Shopify or Amazon FBA. I'm kind of including them all, which I know Amazon FBA is more the physical side of things. Drop shipping is more kind of outsourced, and you're not really touching the products at all. But I still wanted to include this in e-commerce. So the startup cost does vary widely. Drop shipping doesn't cost as much. Amazon FBA does cost a lot more upfront. You're looking at, 3 to like 8,000, 3 to 7,000 to start to get the physical products and then sell them. Dropshipping is a bit cheaper, but it does vary widely. Physical products may require significant inventory and logistics costs, while dropshipping or digital products reduce upfront expenses, but you're still looking at upfront costs. We're just going to put this as varies widely. I put it as a yellow because dropshipping would probably be yellow, maybe light green, but Amazon FBA would probably be red. So put it at yellow here. And then growth operating. This is one you've probably seen a ton recently. It's a very popular business model now. And so what this is you are not doing anything upfront yourself, but you're helping creators monetize their audience by building a community for them, like a school community, a WAP community, a Discord, whatever it is. You're building this for a creator, and they're selling it to their audience for whatever monthly retainer, whatever monthly price, maybe $20 to like, $500,000 a month. And then you're taking a percentage of it, usually anywhere from like 20 to 50%, depending on it. But you are making money off of that creator's audience. And so it's a very good model. You can't go wrong with it. It has very low startup costs because you don't need to do much other than build a community for them. And you need to have a couple, analytical tools, digital marketing software, and, potentially skilled personnel. I threw that in there just because it helps, but you don't need it, which is why, again, similar to the AI agency and SMMA, your startup costs are very low, really just being maybe a couple miscellaneous softwares and whatnot. But outside of that, that's really it. So again, good option for people who have little to no upfront funds to start. So out of these first ones here, in terms of upfront cost, it is quite clear that OFM and e-commerce are the ones that are, definitely more upfront costs. And the one that here that I would say is personally the lowest upfront cost is White Label AI Agency. And I would honestly put growth operating very closely beside that, and SMMA also very closely beside that, because they are all in a similar realm of cost upfront, just miscellaneous software is really. All right, now the number 2 section here is scalability and growth potential. So first, we have SMMA. SMMA is very scalable, as you can see, or scalable. I won't say very scalable, it's scalable. It's green, which is the second top one. And it's very scalable via systems and outsourcing through personalized client management. Personalized client management may cap growth without proper automation, which again, if you've run an SMMA, you've definitely run into that, where as you start to get more and more clients, they start to vary slightly in terms of what they may need specifically. And that kind of gets things a little hectic. And if you don't have automation set up as, automate your onboarding, automate your fulfillment, all this sort of stuff, it starts to take a lot of time up. Even if you're at like the 5 to 10K month mark, you're probably working a lot every day to be doing that. And so it is scalable. Again, don't get me wrong, it is scalable. That's why it's green here, scalable. And again, it doesn't cost much. So it is a good option for people starting out. Now, number 2, OFM. OFM is also scalable. It can scale by building a roster of models and leveraging social media and scheduling tools. However, individualized attention to talent may limit rapid large-scale expansion because, you're managing models. Again, not my thing, but it is very popular, so I wanted to cover it on here. But you're managing these models and you are doing a lot of the promoting for them, the marketing, all this sort of stuff. So having to do individualized kind of customings for each one could limit scalability. But again, it's still scalable. It's still green. Don't get me wrong. Scalable. Then we have the label AI agency. So again, this is highly scalable. Through automated white label solutions that can be rapidly deployed without custom development, easily meeting growing client demands. You can handle a client a day. Like I'm talking, if you were working 8 hours a day, you could easily handle a client a day. And a client a day would be between 4 to 12K up front. So a client a day would be great, right? Making a lot of money, minimum 100K a month if you're doing a client a day. And so it is very, very scalable because these solutions, white label solutions, again, there are some, AI softwares where you're not able to white label them. I'm specifically talking about white label solutions. These make it very, very easy. No code white label solutions specifically. Very easy to build, very easy to deploy, very easy to maintain for clients, which makes it highly scalable. Now we have e-commerce. E-commerce is highly scalable. Digital model, you're selling it maybe, you're selling maybe a digital product, you're selling, physical product through Amazon FBA or drop shipping, it is very scalable because the more people you have buying from you, if it's Amazon FBA, you might need more inventory, but if it's drop shipping, you can handle more people buying, right? More people buying doesn't take more time from you, right? Because you're not dealing with them one-to-one, it's one-to-many. So highly scalable. Digital models or dropshipping allow rapid expansion, while physical inventory models may face logistical hurdles. So Amazon FBA, I would say, is a bit less scalable, but still very scalable. You just have to be buying your inventory up front, but Amazon handles all the fulfillment and stuff for you. Now, the very last one here being growth operating. And with growth operating, it is, again, highly scalable, a very good model because you are dealing with creators. Again, you're not going to be able to take 10 creators at once if you're building their whole communities and everything. But when standardized growth strategies are implemented, potential for recurring revenue through long-term client engagements becomes very high because you can continue making money month over month. And after you do the initial build for a client, you might only need to do a little bit of work here and there for them. And so it is highly scalable. So as you can see, a lot of these models, I picked business models that are fairly similar in a lot of aspects because you can see these are all very scalable models. Good ways to go. It's just a matter of what you prefer the most. Now, the third section here is you're going to see some differentiators between some of these categories: market demand and trends. Now, I'm going to try to keep these side ones blocked off so you can't see them yet. So with SMMA is in the position where it has very high demand, which is great, but it also has very high supply, which is why it's red here, which I'm sure you've seen if you try to run an agency nowadays. I started out in SMMA. Demand was very, very high. Competition was very, very high, which makes it very difficult. And so as brands invest in social media, the demand increases, right? However, the space is highly competitive and platform dependent. So a lot of the barrier to entry for SMMA is very, very low. Anybody can get into it nowadays. It's not difficult, so which makes the competition very high, which again, basic economics, the demand is high, which is great, but the supply is high. I would almost argue that the supply is even higher than the demand. So it just makes it very saturated and hard to compete with those big agencies. The people who started 10 years ago are in a great position because they lock themselves down as people in the space that are reliable. And so they're the go-to people. And so it's great for them. But people who are starting out now, if you're just starting, SMMA will be difficult. Now, OFM. OFM is a bit different. It has high demand and moderate supply. So I put it as yellow because the demand is high. I don't know if you guys have seen OnlyFans. OnlyFans is booming. There's so many people paying for it. A lot of people are paying for that stuff. And so the demand is high and the supply is moderate. So the supply is less than demand, but there's still a good amount of supply. A lot of people are starting to get into this now, and there's only so many models, right? And there's only a percentage of the models that are actually making good money. And so growing demand as more creators and those return to OnlyFans, the model appeals to those seeking professional management and optimizing earnings and brand presence. So the models that are looking for that support is good, but the ones who are really making money already have a big social media presence, so they don't even need it. But again, better way to go than SMMA, in my opinion, in terms of market demand and trends. Now, white label AI agency. So the beautiful thing about this is that the demand is extreme demand, higher than anything else on this list, and the supply is very, very low. The supply is very low because not many people are white labeling AI solutions and selling them to businesses, and the demand is there because of how much these businesses can benefit. I have seen businesses massively transformed by implementing AI solutions that have been white labeled into their business and having it automate their phone calls, their text messages, their emails, their appointment booking, their customer service. That was primarily costing them, like if you have a receptionist that you're paying $50K a year, someone would gladly pay you 15, 20K up front to have an AI that can handle that 24/7 for them, right? That's why the demand is so high for this, because if businesses implement it now, they're blasting ahead of their competitors. And in the future, businesses that don't have it are going to need to have it if they want to compete with the businesses that do. That's why it's such a unique thing, because it's so damn powerful. So the demand is extreme and the supply is low. As businesses rush to adopt AI solutions, no-code white label approaches allow companies to integrate advanced technology quickly without lengthy development cycles. This is why it's so good, because businesses, they don't want to learn how to implement this. That's why they're willing to pay people to do it for them. Now, e-commerce. E-commerce is a unique one because everything is online. All online purchasing is massively taking over. So it has extreme demand, but it also has high supply, which is why I put it yellow. Maybe could have been light green because the demand is so high with online products. It's a matter of just finding a good product. You might try a couple that suck, but then you find one that booms and you are doing good. You're making good money from it, right? And so it just depends. But the supply is also very high. So many people, like if you talk to people who are successful in business or online business, they all try drop shipping or e-commerce first. So the supply is very high. But again, continues to thrive with the ongoing shift to online shopping, consumer trends favor convenience and niche products. So, demand is very, very high, but supply is also high. So if you can find a winning product, you can do very well, but finding that winning product is the tough part. And the last thing here is growth operating. Moderate demand, high supply. So there are a lot of people that I've seen try to be growth operators because you just message creators, hey, I can build you a community and all this sort of stuff. And so the increasingly in demand as companies pursue data-centric and agile growth strategies aligned with digital transformation trends. The reason I say the demand is moderate is because it's not that a lot of creators couldn't benefit from it, is that a lot of creators just simply seem to not care. They don't even monetize their audience. You'd be surprised how many creators have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers that are not making the kind of money you'd expect. And so I've seen people that are doing $1 million a month that aren't even, or 1 million followers that aren't even making $10K a month. And so they're not monetizing their audience, and they just don't realize it, which is why the demand is higher than it should be. The demand should be very high for this, but it's not. And then this would probably be light green, maybe even green, if it was extreme demand and creators knew how much they could be making off their audience, but a lot of them don't. But the supply is there. A lot of kids are starting growth operating, and it just depends on what the creator's looking to do. If they want to monetize their audience, give up 40%, 30% to a growth operator, they can, but a lot of them just don't do it, which is why the demand, I say, is moderate. All right, now we have skill set and learning curve. So this is purely based off of how long it's going to take you to learn how to do this successfully and the skill set you're going to need to do it. How long is it going to take you to get that skill set? So social media marketing agency, right? SMMA. It's a moderate learning curve. It's yellow. Requires digital marketing know-how, social media expertise, and strong client management skills. There is a lot of stuff with SMMA because you are doing absolutely everything. You're dealing with clients, you're closing deals, you're doing marketing, you're doing fulfillment, you're doing operations, you're doing absolutely everything. So there is a lot of stuff you need to learn. So it could have even potentially been orange, but I decided to make it yellow because I think you can hit 10K a month without being too crazy on the operations, the fulfillment, all that sort of stuff. You can be moderate at those and still do well, but it is quite a bit of a learning curve compared to some of these other things here. Now, OFM, moderate learning curve as well. Requires a blend of digital marketing similar to SMMA because it's a lot of marketing online, and content strategy, social media savvy, and relationship management. While not highly technical, creativity and understanding of adult content guidelines are essential. So it's a bit different than SMMA, of course, because you're working with models and not, like businesses, but again, still moderate learning curve. And I'm assuming you're starting from zero here, right? I'm assuming you have no knowledge on this prior. You're starting to learn it. How long is it going to take? What's the timeline? All right. Now, when it comes to white labeling an AI solution, white labeling AI agency, small learning curve. It's very, very minimal. Minimal technical skills required. No code platforms reduce the learning curve, allowing entrepreneurs to focus on sales and client management rather than technical development. I kid you not, you could close a client with no idea how to fulfill on this. This is what I did at the beginning because I've done a bunch of these business models. And we closed the client first, I didn't even know how to use the platform, closed them for 5K up front, and then learned how to do it and built it for them in like a couple days. It is not difficult to learn as long as you're using the right platform. It is not difficult to learn, and it is huge in terms of how quickly you can move, how quickly you can fulfill for these clients because there's such a small learning curve. That's why it's green, small learning curve. Light green, I didn't put dark green because there's still a bit of a learning curve. You got to use the platform, the flow, maybe some integrations with certain CRMs that go high level, a little bit of a learning curve, but small still. Now, e-commerce, moderate learning curve, similar to the first two. It varies based on the business model. Core skills include online marketing, product management, customer service, and sometimes inventory management. If you are doing this, the reason I say it's a moderate learning curve is much less on the e-com side itself, but it's more so on the marketing. The paid ads, whether you do paid ads or organic, you're going to have to learn one of these. So I say moderate learning curve. And just getting used to how to set up everything. If you're doing Amazon FBA, buying inventory, talking with suppliers, same if you're doing dropshipping, talking with suppliers, getting all that going. There's definitely a moderate learning curve to it. But again, none of these are, too crazy, right? These are yellow, so it's moderate, but nothing crazy. Now, growth operating, I put orange. Could have been yellow, don't get me wrong, but it's a moderate to steep learning curve. Blends skills in digital marketing, data analytics, product management, and growth hacking. Learning curves range from moderate to steep depending on service depth, because you are doing a lot. You are building an entire community / course for these creators. You're managing it. You're doing all the promotion, all the marketing. You're running launches for it. You're building automations for it. You're doing a lot of stuff to have this work successfully. So that's why I say there's a moderate to steep learning curve, because you really have to learn all the aspects of successful marketing to do this well for clients. You can do it. And a lot of people think it's easier than it is, but there is a lot to it. You have to build all these funnels. You have to do all the automations, all the marketing. You have to build up all the anticipation, all the hype for it. You have to do a launch for it. You have to do some sales calls with it, most likely as well. Maybe some onboarding calls, whatever it is. There is a lot of stuff that goes into it, which is why I honestly put this as orange. It maybe could have been yellow, but I put it as orange because I honestly think it probably does have the biggest learning curve out of these, to be honest. All right, next up, we have profit margins and revenue streams. So this is the second last one here, profit margins and revenue streams. So we're mostly going to be talking about the profit margins here, because the revenue, I'm going to assume we're all going for 10K a month with this. Everybody's watching this. You're probably trying to hit 10K a month and see what the best business model is. So with SMMA, you have high profit margins. No way around it. As you scale, your margins will decrease, but if you're in the 10K a month range, you'll probably be looking at 80, 95% profit margins. So it's pretty solid. Solid margins via retainer and performance fees. Recurring revenue is achievable, but sensitive to client churn. That's the biggest problem with SMMA is clients leave quickly. And if you're not getting good results, they will just leave and go to an agency and they'll continue in that flywheel. But still dark green, high profit margins, still great for margins. Now, OFM, high profit margins. This should also be dark green because it is high profit margins. Because similar to this, they're online, right? So margins are going to be well for all of these, except for, you'll see in a bit which one is low, but these are online, right? You don't have very much overhead. As you scale, your margins decrease, but you're making more money, so it's fine. But again, OFM, your margins will start very, very high. Again, probably in that 70 to 90% range. So high profit margins, dark green, offers potential for high margins through revenue sharing, management fees, and performance incentives. Profitability depends on model success and efficient scaling of client roster. It does depend on how many, memberships or whatever your clients are getting or your models, but I know OFM agencies usually operate on a rev split, so they take a percentage of it, and I guess management fees come in later to scale, but high profit margins. Now, white label AI agency, again, high profit margins. Again, you're looking at 80, 95% profit margins. Due to minimal overhead and low operational costs, revenue can be driven by subscription models, retainers, and performance fees without heavy R&D. That's the beauty of white label. If you were to build your own software, your margins would be much lower. It's expensive. And so if you're white labeling, though, you don't have any of those costs. The only cost will be your monthly subscription to that software. Maybe you start running ads, all this sort of stuff. But even with ads, you'll be looking at 90% margins, 80% margins on the low side. Again, as you scale, hire team members, your margins will start to thin. Once you're in 100K a month, your margins might be closer to 60%, maybe 70%. But again, at that point, that's 60, 70K profit. So it doesn't matter. But to start off, your margins will be very, very high. If you're in the 10K month range, if you're doing 10 to 20K a month, your margins will be 80, 90%. Now, the one I was talking about that has low profit margins, this is, the e-com space. If you've tried e-com, the margins are low. You'll see a lot of people dropping that they're doing 100K a month in e-com, and it's their revenue. They're really doing like 20K a month, which again is still good money, but a lot of the times people are flexing their revenue with e-com. And so again, margins vary. Physical products often see lower margins due to overhead, while digital or drop shipping models can yield higher profits. Revenue streams may be one-time subscription based. I've seen people get margins upwards of 50%, 55% on Amazon FBA. Don't get me wrong, which is great. You're in a really good spot. But most common you're seeing on Amazon FBA, I'll see anywhere from like 20 to 35%. Drop shipping seems to honestly be a bit lower sometimes. I've seen people go as low as like 10%. I've seen people be negative with drop shipping. I've seen people do 10% to 30%. Really depends. But I have also seen people that are really successful with it that are doing like $500,000 a month and they're doing like 55% profit margins, which is great. But on average, it's low profit margins. I'm talking at the 10K month mark, your margins are usually quite low. So it's red, low profit. And now final growth operating, high profit margins, very high profit margins. Like, again, 90% you're sitting at usually. Typically combines retainer, project-based, and performance fees. High margins are attainable with effective operational efficiency and robust client base. Because let's say if you're doing 10K a month, you're probably getting 25K a month for your client. You're taking your 40%. You're getting 10K a month. Your margins will be very high. Again, probably 90%, which is why these are great models for if you're looking purely at profit. These four are great. This one's not. But again, you don't want to just look at the profit and look at a lot of it. But again, that's the profit and scalability. Now, the final section here, and probably the most important one, is potential speed to hit 10K a month. because these are all good businesses, right? They all work. But again, the vehicle is the most important. If your destination is, let's say you're at the start of a street and a kilometer away is your destination, and that's 10K a month. You're at the start, which is right here. There's multiple different ways you can get there. You can walk, you can run, you can take a bike, you can take a car, you can take a plane. Which one is going to get you there faster? A plane's going to get you in a kilometer in, like, I don't even know, like a fraction of a second. Running is probably going to take you, 5 to 7 minutes, depending how slow you are. Walking a kilometer will probably take you 15 to 25 minutes. So all these vehicles work. They get you to the destination, but which one is the best use of your time? Which one gets you there faster? That's what we're going to check in this section here. And I'm assuming you're starting from zero prior business knowledge, because if you have a mentor or you have a course or anything, you can get there much quicker. I've seen people, like, I'll talk about it a bit as we go through here, but I've seen people do numbers very quickly. Now, potential speed to hit 10K a month. If you're starting from zero, you'll usually hit 10K a month in the 6 to 9 month range if you're working very hard. Building a stable client base and securing retainer contracts typically requires consistent marketing and relationship building over time. Does take a good amount of effort. Estimate you're usually charging anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month in retainers. So you might be looking at like 5 to 10 clients, which is, a decent bit. You also need them to not leave, you need them to not churn, and to stick with you. So 6 to 9 months is pretty doable. And so that's typically what we'll see, which is why it's yellow. Because it's still good. And don't get me wrong, 6 to 9 months to be making 10K a month is still very good. And I'm talking 10K a month profit, by the way, not revenue. Now, here we have OFM. Typically, 6 to 12 months is what you're going to see. Effective management and growing a roster and optimized social media strategies can lead to 10K a month profit as models' earnings increase. You're getting a percentage, right? So you need good models. And so as you grow, as you crush marketing, you can definitely make a ton with this. I've seen people that are doing very, very well with OFM. But to hit that first 10K a month, starting from scratch, I'm assuming you're not taking any courses, any mentors, you're learning on your own, will take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, which is pretty similar to SMMA here, which is why it's yellow. Now, white label AI agency. 3 to 6 months. With minimal setup and leveraging pre-built tools, dedicated efforts in sales and client acquisition can quickly bring in 10K a month profit relatively quick. I say 3 to 6 months, assuming you are starting from zero, which is why it's green, because 3 to 6 months to be making 10K a month is huge. If you are working with courses or you are working with mentors, you're working one-on-one with people who know how to do it, like ourselves, for example, like if you want to check out how to start and scale your AI agency, I'll drop a link below. You can check it out. We will work closely with you to build all of it. And in that case, we have people hit 10K a month in like 5 days, 2 weeks, 30 days, 2 months, much quicker than this. But again, this is assuming that you're doing it in yourself, figuring it all out, YouTube, free stuff, all free resources. 3 to 6 months is very doable. And usually it'll be 1 to 2 clients. And 1 to 2 clients a month, and you're at 10K a month. We've had people 10K clients, 15K clients, which is why we've had partners close 34K clients in 4 days. We've had partners close 10K clients paid up front in 3 weeks. We've had clients close, 19K deals, 15K deals, which is why you can get there very, very quickly. And so it does work very, very good. And that's why it's dark green. Now, drop shipping or e-commerce, 12 to 18 months typically. And this is profit, right? So if you're, this is going to be anywhere from like 30, probably about 40K to 100K revenue. You're going to be doing 10K profit, which is why, you see a lot of people say they're doing 100K a month of drop shipping, which they are in revenue or sales, but it's usually, 10 to 30K profit, which is still, don't get me wrong, that's still very good. 12 to 18 months, which is why it's red, because not that that's bad to hit 10K a month, but just comparatively to these other ones. If you knew you were going to hit 10K a month in 18 months, that's very good, but it's red compared to these other options. And so achieving 10K a month profit demands overcoming thin margins and scaling operations, especially challenging with physical products. Now, the final one, growth operating, 9 to 12 months, orange, kind of in the middle here. Establishing credibility, building a sustainable, data-driven client portfolio takes time before reaching 10K a month in profit. Because if you go to a creator and has a large brand and you're telling them, hey, I can build you a course for nothing up front and 40% of the revenue, they're going to be a little hesitant unless you have a good portfolio, because they're putting their audience in this, right? It's not just them that's taking the risk. You could build something, and if it's bad, they're going to lose portions of their audience, right? From potentially buying them from them in the future, which is why credibility is important. And you will see people hitting 10K a month, usually in that 9 to 12 month range. I have seen people hit it quicker. Don't get me wrong. I know people personally that are doing it quicker, but 9 to 12 months, I also know a lot that are doing it in that range. So now we have gone through all of these sections here. Let's zoom out a bit so we can take a nice little bird's eye view at these here. So out of all of these, you can see, you might have a preference to which one you think. I personally think the best option of all of these, given everything we have gone through here, is without a doubt the white label AI agency. And that's what we do ourselves. We built the software. So we built the software ourselves, which isn't exactly white labeling, but we built a software that our clients white label from us. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll put a link down below. Again, no pressure, but we show you exactly how to do it, how to build all your systems, which can cut this 3 to 6 months down to like 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 8 weeks, still could be 3 to 6 month range. I can't guarantee any results because only person that can get you results is you, but we will show you how to do all of it. And we'll give you access to our platform. You white label it. You can do this exact business model, which is why I think is the best way to go. But again, these all work. Don't get me wrong. These all are good business models and they all work. It's just a matter of which one will get you to your goal the quickest. So I hope this video helped kind of clarify that for you and give you a better idea. Maybe you watch it and you're like, man, growth operating is what I want to do. That looks great. SMA seems cool. That's exactly what I want to do. OFM, if you want to do OFM, go for it. It's not my thing. But maybe you look at this, you're like, white label AI agency, this looks awesome. Damn, I want to do that. Whichever one you think is good for you, go ahead and do it. If you want to do the white label AI agency, again, I'll drop the link below for you, help you get to that 10K a month mark. And I hope this gave you clarity on which business model, which vehicle will get you to your goal the quickest.